guys, so we're back talking some more Bel-Air on the channel with the 8th episode dropping this week on Peacock. We only have a handful of episodes left in season 1, so we are kind of winding down with the last couple episodes. Now, the big takeaway from the last episode I was hoping to be elaborated on this week was the revelation that Carlton finds out that Will and Lisa are together as the cops raid their party they were throwing. But we don't really get those answers, at least not till later on in the episode, because most of the episode is focused around Will's birthday. We're celebrating his 17th birthday. So any punishment that Will was going to receive because of that party, or the fact he was hanging out with Lisa after Uncle Phil told him not to, all that's put on the back burner. We even invite Vi in from Philadelphia to the party, and bringing her into the fold in episode 8 certainly brings up some fun dramatic moments, a lot of highs and lows of this episode between her, Will, and Vivian. I do quite like how we're incorporating Will's mom a bit more into the main storyline in Bel-Air, because we did see Will's mom quite a bit in the original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. She was a recurring character. Vinnie Watson-Johnson did a great job, but she wasn't like a big character in the show. She was only in like 15 episodes or something like that out of like 160 something, so she wasn't in like a ton of them. I do enjoy this new version of Vi. She brings some fun energy into the episode with the way that she interacts with her son and the entire family. She throws a bit of fun shade at Vivian occasionally, like siblings do, which in turn does bring in a lot of history, a lot of baggage, which is kind of the main crux of the big drama between her and Vivian throughout the course of the episode. Not that that's something new brought to the table in this episode in particular, because we have seen Vivian and Vi argue over the phone, because you can definitely see they have a fractured relationship. They just lead very different lifestyles, and you can kind of understand, especially as she explains her case more throughout the episode, how she feels slighted by Vivian, kind of taking over as Will's mother over there in Bel-Air, and the fact that Vivian kind of left Vi as she took care of their mother, which is a very messed up thing to do. The other massive thing that's looming over the course of the episode is the fact that Vi wants to finally tell Will about his father Lou, which I don't know how I feel about it. If you're a big fan of the original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, all of the drama that swirls around Will and Will's dad is probably one of the biggest emotional gut punches of the entire series and probably in all of television. It's up there for me when it comes to big dramatic moments of all time, and I don't know if I really want to experience that again, especially so early on in Bel-Air, but here we are. It's something we see over the course of the episode. Both Vi and Will kind of struggle to try and bring up in some kind of shape or form. You know, we see them kind of tease that they're going to say something about it, and then we don't really get too much. I will say, I do love the moments in the episode where it's just Will and Vi together. They have some great, sweet moments where they're just kind of catching up on things since they left one another. Those moments between the two of them are so strong. It really isn't spoiled by the fact that Will does find out a little bit of details about his dad, Lou. It sounds like Lou is pretty much the same terrible deadbeat dad kind of character we got in the original show, so at least that's not really tweaked all that much. Obviously, the prospect of Vi telling Will about his father does bring up some hostility among some of the family members that knew Lou, like Uncle Phil and Vivian. The one who acts the wildest, though, it has to be Uncle Phil, because we've seen in previous episodes, Uncle Phil kind of has some Tony Soprano mob-like qualities to him. You know, we see him cutting deals left and right to help out Will and Carlton over the course of the season, but we see him venting to Jeffrey about the whole Lou situation, and he wants Jeffrey to make sure that Lou stays away from Will by any means necessary. But Jeffrey doesn't really know Lou or anything. He doesn't really know the inside workings of this family, so he is kind of an outside perspective, and he suggests the fact that maybe Will should decide whether he wants to know Lou or not, which Phil immediately shuts down. Like, that was a surprise to me, how he just laid down the law on Jeffrey like that, but we'll revisit that later on in the episode anyways. Surprisingly, not as big of a focus this week when it comes to the entire campaigning, you know, the political stuff between Uncle Phil and Lisa's dad. I did, however, quite like the proposal they make to one another when they meet up in secrecy, that whoever is leading in the polls after their upcoming debate, they get to be the candidate for the Democratic Party, and the other one has to drop out of the race and back them. So who knows who's going to come out on top when it comes to this race. I don't really know who I'm really going to root for in this. I don't really know too much of their policies. I guess probably Uncle Phil, because he's more of a main character of the show, but who knows who's going to end up winning. We may see Lisa's dad winning. With the way that we dealt with the entire Thirsty Chef video drama last week, I was not really all that hyped to go into Hilary's storyline in this. I just didn't really care for the continuation of it. But by the end of the story in this episode, I actually felt like it was kind of semi-redeemed for Hilary. Not gonna lie, at first I did kind of want to roll my eyes because she was all for selling out and doing more of these Thirsty Chef videos for the sake of viewership, even if her parents weren't all that happy about her doing it. But I'm glad that by the end she did realize that she doesn't want to go through with all that stuff, and even sticks up for herself when slimy old Kylo is rude rude about her not wanting to try it and wanting to do something else with all of her content. I mean, she even quits the entire influencer house thing, even though she'll owe Kylo $50,000 for quitting prematurely. I figure that Uncle Phil probably has enough money to fork over to that contract, like he's been bailing out Will and Carlton. We don't really address that in this episode. That's just my guess. We're going to go with that. While kind of rectifying all of her mistakes, she even has an apology ready for Jazz, so they make up. Everything's all good in here. I mean, Hilary, I'm pretty proud of her after this episode. I don't know necessarily where her storylines are going to go. Hopefully with this influencer stuff, maybe we'll throw that on the back burner. I don't know. I'm just glad that this saga of influencer stuff may potentially be over with. We finish off the episode with the actual party for Will's birthday. You know, it starts out kind of fun enough. You know, Will's actually introducing Lisa to his mother. I had a feeling they'd get along. They have very similar personality types, and I can see why Will likes her so much. Once all of the gift opening starts, that's when the sparks really finally come to a head between Vi and Vivian. Vi has this very nice sentimental gift, a framed photo of Will and her when he was a kid, and Vivian pulls out these nice signed shoes that were signed by Michael Jordan. So big discrepancy there when it comes to sentimental value and superficial value. Everything all comes to a head between Vi and Vivian in the middle of Will's birthday party, so I kind of feel bad for him in that sense. Of all people, Carlton is the one that tries to fix everything between Vi and Vivian. I've kind of liked where we've gone with Carlton's character these last couple episodes. He seemed to be much more level-headed and mature as the episodes progressed. Between this stuff and him having a mature conversation with Will about Will dating Lisa, and he does accept it. So I'm glad that we're finally kind of resolving that issue between them, especially because Carlton hasn't dated Lisa in a long time, and it's not really that big of a deal, in my opinion at least. So I'm glad that we're going to have some sort of friendship probably going forward and that acceptance there. Much like any argument between siblings, Vi and Vivian don't really stay mad at each other for very long, and I'm glad they do have that heart-to-heart with one another as the end of the episode. You know, Vi does tell Vivian that she's not going to open up that can of worms and tell Will about his dad, but it's too late. I mean, the door of curiosity has been blown wide open here, even with those small little details sprinkled throughout the episode, as we see Will go to Jeffrey at the end of the episode, and he asks Jeffrey to look into his dad, which I have a big feeling that Jeffrey is going to actually do, especially after the blow-up between Jeffrey and Uncle Phil earlier on in the episode, because we know Jeffrey actually does want to get Will involved in this. I mean, I don't know. That whole, like I said before, the drama between Lou and Will is one of those big emotional moments in the original series that I'm kind of just nervous for a lot of different reasons on how they're going to approach it in this new version of The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Either way, we only have a handful of episodes left in this very first season of Bel-Air, so I'm intrigued to see where we're going to leave off by the end of the season, if we're going to end off the stuff between Lou and Will, at least cap off the season with a very emotionally poignant ending. Anyways, that's been my thoughts on the 8th episode of Bel-Air. It'll air later this week on Peacock. I address it every single week that I get these episodes early as a member of the press. Critics get them early for reviews. I mention it all the time and nobody ever listens, and I imagine people probably won't listen even if I address it again because I did it last week and people still ask. But I'm still glad that all of you guys join in and talk about the show each and every week with me because I do enjoy that aspect. So when you do get a chance to check out the episode of Bel-Air this week, maybe share your thoughts down below. What did you think of the episode? Did you like the episode? Not like the episode? How are we feeling about all of the drama going forward and even the stuff in this episode? The stuff with Lou is the stuff I want to talk about with the big fans of the original Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Are you nervous how they're going to approach this in this new version or not? Are you looking forward to it? Either way, share all your thoughts down below. It's part of the fun to have a conversation with you guys in the comments section. Thank you guys for checking out the reviews. I really appreciate that. Make sure to like on the video and also subscribe to the channel so you update review reactions, unboxings, and more. Next time, I'll see you guys later.